There is a box of laundry soap sitting on my potting bench right now. Green and white cardboard, the same 20 Mule Team Borax my mother kept on a shelf over her washing machine, about $5 at the grocery store. Last summer, I put it on my tomatoes, on the broccoli too, and the beets and the melon patch along my back fence, and the rows that got it out produced the rows that did not, by enough that Karen went back through the harvest log twice to make sure the numbers were real. But before you go shaking that box over your garden like powdered sugar, you need the whole story. Because I ran this two ways, in two matching test plots. One plot got it my way, the other plot got it the way those pictures floating around the internet show it, poured straight out of the box. One of those plots still would not grow a decent bean this spring. So stay with me to the end, because the line between feeding your garden and poisoning it for years comes down to one measuring spoon. And I'm going to show you exactly where that line sits and why you cannot uncross it once you step over. I'm Steve Calloway. I have been growing food in the same Midwest backyard for more than 20 years, and for most of those years I have run side-by-side test beds and kept written records of what actually happened out there. My first garden was a jungle of green that gave me about a dozen sad tomatoes all summer. These days my wife Karen keeps the harvest log, and our biggest problem is giving food away fast enough. Now I want you to picture a garden in the middle of July. Big healthy vines, dark green leaves, flowers everywhere, and almost nothing setting fruit. Tomato blossoms turning yellow at the stem and dropping into the dirt. Broccoli heads coming in loose and bitter. Beets that look fine on top and come out of the ground woody and brown in the middle, so you water deeper. You put down more of the blue crystal fertilizer or another round of 10-10-10 and nothing changes. Because nothing in those bags is the thing that is missing. What is missing in a lot of long-worked American gardens is a trace mineral called boron. Boron is not plant food the way nitrogen is plant food. It is more like the delivery crew. It helps pollen do its job so flowers turn into fruit. It moves sugar out of the leaves and into the tomatoes and melons. It builds the walls of every new cell, and it carries calcium to where calcium is needed. A plant needs only a whisper of it. When that whisper is gone, the whole factory slows down. And that plain box in the laundry aisle is about 11% pure boron, which is why it can wake a stalled garden up for pennies. It is also why it scares me a little, and why my second test plot is sitting out there dead as a parking lot. We are going to that plot before we are done today. I promise you that. I have 10 reasons this powder earns a place on my potting bench, and one hard rule that decides whether it helps you or hurts you. Now, before we count them down, you should know that everything I test out here ends up written down. The whole system lives in a book I put together called Steve's 30-Day Maximum Yield Protocol. It is the exact 30-day routine I follow in my own backyard, laid out day by day from soil preparation all the way through harvest, built to roughly double what every plant gives you without one extra square foot of space and without any expensive equipment. It covers the big 7 yield killers, feeding for fruit instead of foliage, and the pruning and planting systems behind my best seasons. And it works the same in raised beds, in-ground rows, and containers. The book is $17 right now, marked down from $47, which is less than one flat of nursery tomatoes that may or may not produce a thing. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, let's get back out to the beds and count these reasons down. Reason number 1, borax turns flowers into food. Every tomato, pepper, squash, and melon starts as a blossom, and every blossom needs pollen that actually works. Boron is what keeps that pollen alive and growing, and when a plant runs short, you get that heartbreaker of a sight, a vine covered in yellow flowers dropping off without setting a single fruit. Folks blame the heat or the bees, and sometimes they are right. But in my test rows, the plot that got a light boron drench in June held on to its blossoms while the plain plot kept shedding them into the mulch. Karen's log showed about a third more ripe tomatoes off that treated row by Labor Day. Same seed, same water, same sun. Here's what actually works, and it starts at the flower, not the fruit. Reason number 2. It solves the mystery of hollow broccoli. Cut a broccoli stalk down the middle sometime. If you find a brown open cavity running up the stem, that is one of the oldest riddles in the vegetable patch, and the answer is almost always boron. Cauliflower does the same trick, and both will come in loose, bitter, and half the size they should be when the mineral runs out. The year I started paying attention to this, my fall broccoli went from heads I apologised for to heads I photographed. One light dose at planting time, and the stems came out solid as a broom handle. Reason number 3. Your beets, turnips, and carrots are begging for it. Root vegetables store everything the plant makes, so the roots are the first place a shortage shows. Beets develop black, corky hearts. Turnips go brown and spongy in the centre. Carrots split and crack before they ever size up. The old-timers called it heart rot, and whole counties of farmers once lost crops to it before anybody figured out a missing trace mineral was to blame. If you have ever pulled a beautiful beet and sliced into a disappointment, this is the likeliest reason why. Reason number 4. It makes the harvest sweeter. Leaves make sugar, but sugar does you no good sitting in a leaf. Boron runs the pipeline that moves that sugar into the fruit. Melon growers have known this for 100 years, because a cantaloupe short on boron ripens bland no matter how much sun it gets. In my melon patch, the treated hills gave fruit that was noticeably sweeter and a touch heavier, and my sample size was every melon Karen and I ate off that fence line last August. Tomatoes respond the same way. Nothing magical about it, just plumbing. Now stop right there, because 4 reasons in is usually where somebody heads for the garage. And I'm not letting you go without the numbers. Here is the entire recipe. 1 level tablespoon of borax. That is 1 tablespoon, level, not heaping, and that is not a typo. Stir it into 1 gallon of warm water until every last grain disappears. Pour that gallon slowly along the soil at the base of your plants and spread it across a full 100 square feet, about a 10 foot by 10 foot patch. 1 tablespoon, 1 gallon, 100 square feet. Once a season at the most, and only if your garden is showing the signs I'm describing today. Never shake the dry powder onto leaves or soil. Keep it away from your bean rows entirely, because beans are the touchiest crop there is about boron. Store the box the way you store laundry soap, up high, away from the grandkids and the dog. And if your plants are showing these signs right now, in the middle of the season, this drench still helps this year's crop, because boron moves fast once it is dissolved. Reason number 5. Fewer split tomatoes after a storm. Every new cell a plant builds gets mortared together with a compound called pectin, and boron is the mason that locks that pectin in place. Strong cell walls flex when a thunderstorm dumps an inch of rain overnight. Weak walls burst, and you walk out the next morning to find your best slices cracked open in rings. The summer I ran these plots, a July storm split fruit up and down the untreated row, while the treated row mostly shrugged it off. Same rain, 2 very different mornings. Reason number 6, it helps calcium finish the job. If you have fought blossom end rot, those black, leathery, sunken bottoms on your tomatoes, you have probably tried crushed eggshells, garden lime, the whole church potluck of calcium cures. And sometimes the rot keeps coming because the calcium is sitting right there in the soil with no ride to the fruit. Boron is part of the crew that moves calcium through the plant. Without it, the truck sits loaded and parked. I will not promise you borax ends blossom end rot on its own, because steady, even watering matters just as much. But if lime never fixed it, this missing link is the next suspect I would question. Reason number 7. Better seed for next year. Making a seed is the most boron-hungry job a plant ever takes on. Plants running short throw blanks, seed that looks fine in the envelope, and sulks in the tray come spring. If you save seed from your tomatoes, your squash, or your zinnias, a garden with its boron in order hands you fatter, livelier seed. My saved marigold seed came up noticeably stronger the spring after I straightened my soil out, and that improvement cost me nothing. Reason number 8. Decades of harvests have been quietly mining it out. Every wheelbarrow of tomatoes you roll out of the garden carries a little boron away with it, and hard rain washes more of it down past the roots, especially in sandy ground. Nothing in a standard bag of fertilizer puts it back, because the big three on the label are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and the trace minerals ride the bench. So a garden that has fed a family for 20 or 30 years can be running on empty and nobody ever knows because nobody ever tested. A basic soil test through your county extension office costs about as much as a pizza and settles the question for good. And hang on, because we are 2 reasons away from that dead plot of mine. Reason number 9. It is the cheapest fix in the whole store. The garden centre will happily sell you a little bottle of liquid micronutrients with a shiny label for the price of a steak dinner. The laundry aisle sells the same boron in a cardboard box for about $5. At 1 tablespoon a season, that box will outlast your knees. I am all for spending money where it counts, and this is not where it counts. Reason number 10, and this is the one that ought to make you sit up straight. Borax kills plants. At high strength, it is one of the oldest weed killers in America. The powder folks once swept into gravel, driveways, and sidewalk cracks to burn out everything green. And far from undoing my first 9 reasons, that kill power is the proof behind them. Anything with the muscle to change your garden has the muscle to wreck it, and the only thing standing between those 2 outcomes is the dose. Which brings us finally to my 2 test plots, and the part I promised you at the start. 2 matching plots, side by side in my back rows. Same soil, same compost, same tomato variety, planted the same weekend in May. Plot 1 got my recipe in the middle of June. 1 level tablespoon in 1 gallon of water, poured at the base and spread across the whole 100 square feet. Plot 2 got what the internet shows. I shook the powder straight from the box, down the row, a nice visible dusting, the kind you see in every one of those pictures. When I weighed out what that innocent-looking shake had actually delivered, it came to almost a cup. That is around 16 tablespoons. 16 times the dose from 30 seconds of pouring. That shake seemed harmless at the time. It was not. Within 2 weeks, the older leaves on plot 2 yellowed around the edges. By 4 weeks, those edges had browned and curled like somebody went over them with a torch, and that scorch pattern is exactly what boron poisoning looks like. The plants stalled, the fruit quit sizing, and by August, the row was finished. And here comes the part nobody tells you. Boron is an element. It does not break down, it does not rot away like manure, and in heavy Midwest clay, it barely washes out. The only cure is deep watering and time. And time means seasons, not weekends. This spring, a full year later, even the volunteer weeds come up thin on that plot, and my test beans quit at 3 inches. Meanwhile, plot 1, 1 spoonful over, gave us the heaviest tomato row Karen has ever written in the log. The reason the line is so thin is simple. Plants need boron at a few parts per million, a few drops in a swimming pool, and the gap between enough and poison is narrower than for anything else you will ever put on a garden. The garden doesn't lie. It rewards the system, not the guesswork. 1 tablespoon, 1 gallon, 100 square feet, once a season. Measure it like it matters, because it does, and that box will feed you instead of finishing you. And that is exactly the kind of thing the whole protocol is built on, tested, cheap, and written out day by day so you can just follow along. Steve's 30-day maximum yield protocol is 115 pages of exactly this. The full 30-day system from soil preparation through harvest, the big 7 yield killers, and every amount already measured out so you never have to guess. It is $17 today instead of $47, and 1 saved tomato row pays that back with change. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So, the short version. If your garden is showing the signs, it is 1 level tablespoon of borax in 1 gallon of water, over 100 square feet once a season, and never straight from the box. Tell me your zone, and your biggest garden frustration right now. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you the pruning cut that feels dead wrong the minute you make it. My neighbors thought I was killing my tomatoes, and the plants I cut ended up outproducing the ones I left alone, and I will show you the numbers. Get out there and get your hands dirty, and I'll see you in the garden.